You were born in the year 1180, the son of a respected magistrate in a small English town. From the time you can talk, your father teaches you that words are not just sounds. An oath, once spoken, becomes a debt your soul owes for the rest of your life. You take this more seriously than most boys your age ever do. At 12, you're sent to serve as a page in the household of a powerful bishop. You wait on tables, carry messages, and listen far more than you speak. The bishop notices something in you early, a mind sharper than the other pages, and tells your father you'll rise far beyond this household one day. You train as a squire through your teenage years, learning the sword, the lance, and the horse, same as every other boy born to your station. But there's something different in you the other squires don't share. Some nights, instead of drinking with the men-at-arms, you slip away to pray in the chapel until the candles burn down. For a long stretch of your youth, you seriously consider giving up knighthood entirely and joining a monastery instead. In the end, you choose the sword over the cloister. You marry, you raise children, but you never fully set down the discipline you built in those quiet years. Beneath your armor for the rest of your life, you wear a coarse woven shirt that scratches at your skin, a private reminder to yourself that your vow to God comes before any vow you'll ever make to a man. Knighted at 21, you rise faster than almost anyone expects. You're clever with law and diplomacy, as much as with a blade, and lords across the region start asking for your counsel. You even write a manuscript describing an imaginary, perfectly governed kingdom, and it spreads far beyond your own borders. Scholars in distant courts know your name before they've ever met your face. One king in particular takes a liking to you. He is young, gifted, and used to the entire world, bending around whatever he wants. He visits your estate personally. He walks with his arm draped over your shoulder through your gardens, asking your opinion on matters far above your station, treating you like an old friend rather than a subject. You are flattered by this, but you're no fool either. You once tell a friend, half joking, that if this king thought your head could win him a single castle across the sea, it would come off without him losing a night's sleep over it. You mean it as a joke. It will not remain one. By 50, you're named the king's chief advisor, the highest position any knight in your position could ever reach. You hold more real power than nearly any other man in the kingdom, short of the king himself. Then the king's marriage becomes a crisis. He wants to set aside his wife and marry another woman, and the church refuses to grant it. Furious, the king decides that if the church in Rome won't give him permission, he'll simply declare himself the highest religious authority in his own kingdom instead, answerable to no pope at all. You watch this unfold from inside the king's own council chamber, and you understand immediately what it means for you. Your oath to God, sworn long before your oath to any king, cannot bend to recognize a crown is higher than heaven. So you resign your position quietly, without a single word of public protest. You return the ceremonial chain of office in a plain wooden box. No speech, no complaint, hoping that a man who leaves without a fight is a man the king will simply forget to punish. For a few months, this even seems to work. You retreat to your estate, tend your own garden, spend evenings with your grandchildren by the fire, and let yourself believe quietly that silence has bought you the rest of your life back. It has not. 2 years later, a summons arrives. You're ordered to appear and swear a new oath, one recognizing the king's new marriage and his children by her as rightful heirs. That part alone you're actually willing to swear. But the oath is bound to something larger, a declaration that the king, not God's church, holds final spiritual authority over your soul. This is the impossible choice laid in front of you. Sign and you keep your title, your lands, your family's comfort, and everything you've spent 56 years building. Refuse, and the law now on the books names your refusal an act of treason against the crown itself, a crime with only one sentence attached to it. You stand before the king's commissioners and choose your words as carefully as your father once taught you to choose them as a boy. You tell them you accept the marriage and the succession freely. You simply cannot swear to the part that places the king above your church. You refuse to explain further, believing silence itself is the one shield the law cannot cut through. You are wrong about that too. You're arrested within days and marched to the fortress at the heart of the capital, locked in a small stone cell at the top of one of its towers. You remain there for 14 months. The cell is cold enough that your breath fogs in the mornings, and the guards allow you little beyond a straw mattress, a crucifix, and whatever paper your family can smuggle past them. You mark the days by the changing light through one narrow window, and you keep your mind sharp the only way left available to you, through prayer and through letters written in a hand that grows shakier with each passing month. Your family is allowed to visit occasionally. Your daughter comes most often, and she begs you, gently at first, then in tears, to simply sign the paper. She tells you no one would think less of you. She tells you surely God understands the difference between words spoken to save your life and what a man actually carries in his heart. Her tears cost you more than any threat the king's men make, but you tell her the same thing each time she asks. A man's soul is the one possession that is truly his alone to keep or surrender, and you will not hand yours over merely to keep the rest of you comfortable. Your body weakens in that cell through the cold months. You write letters to your family by candlelight, sometimes with nothing but a burnt stick for ink, once the guards strip your cell bare. Still, you do not sign. At 57, you're finally brought before the court. The case against you is thin, resting mostly on your silence and one disputed private conversation, claimed by a young, ambitious clerk, eager to please the crown. You call his account false to his face in open court. The judges deliberate briefly. Against 57 years of your life, it takes them only minutes. They find you guilty of treason. Only once the verdict is read do you finally speak the truth you had kept silent for over a year. You tell the court plainly that no single king in one small kingdom can overrule what the wider church, across all of Christendom, holds to be true. You are not saying it to save yourself. That door is already closed. You say it because your silence has finished its work, and the truth deserves its own turn to be heard. 5 days later, you're led out to the execution grounds at the edge of the city. The king himself does not attend, choosing instead to spend the morning hunting in the countryside. You climb the scaffold steps steadily enough that you ask the guard beside you for a hand up, adding quietly that he needn't trouble himself helping you back down again. Your final words are simple, and they will be remembered long after the king who ordered them is dust. You call yourself the king's good servant, but God's first. The blade falls once. Centuries later, people will still argue over many things that king did in his long reign, but almost nobody argues over this. He handed one of the most gifted knights in his kingdom a single choice, believing that no man faced plainly with his own death would actually choose his conscience over his life. You did, not out of stubbornness, and not because your life meant little to you. You simply valued one other thing slightly more, the one part of a man that was never truly for sale, no matter the crown offering the price, and no matter how impossible the choice was made to look. And centuries later, it's this choice, not the crown, not the title, not even the kingdom itself, that people still remember your name for.